Can Deontay Wilder redeem his legacy? Now, obviously, Deontay Wilder has somewhat of a legacy. I mean, he won the WBC title about 5 years ago, was it now? I believe it was 2015 he won the title. And yeah, he defended the title. Look, you guys, I don't need to get into all that. You guys know how I feel about Wilder's resume and his reign as champion. I was never a fan of Wilder. I always felt that there was a lot of personally I always felt there was a lot of skullduggery involved in Wilder's career, involving drug testing and politics, referees, judges, mandatories. I felt there was a lot of manipulation and a lot of skullduggery involved in keeping Deontay Wilder as champion. And I talked about it at the time, not long after, there was not long after he was starting to really get big as champion. When he was fighting guys like Duapa and whatnot. I knew at that point I was like, look, America went so long without a world champion in the heavyweight division because when the Klitschko's took over heavyweight boxing, they essentially moved the glory of the heavyweight title over to Europe, because they were getting big crowds in Germany and Switzerland and places like that. And whenever they would fight in America, their crowds weren't really that big, and the networks in America were never really that interested in the Klitschko's. The only times that HBO and big networks over in America ever picked up Klitschko fights was when they thought there was a legitimate chance of the Klitschko's losing, because they were always looking to that guy. And I mean, even when David Haye was making a lot of noise, and when he was, WBA champion and whatnot, HBO started to get behind him, and the Americans were hyped about it because they were just interested at the idea of that heavyweight title being taken away from Europe, if you know what I mean. And I think that the Americans went so long without a champion to the point where when they finally got one, when Deontay Wilder finally picked up that belt and Wilder became a world champion and Wilder sort of brought back that glory for American heavyweight boxing, the establishment in America, in my personal opinion, was willing to do anything to hold on to that. And when the Povetkin situation came around, that was when I really noticed. I was like, shit's going on here. Like, there's a lot of shady behind the scenes stuff going on to protect Deontay Wilder, because not only did we have the drug test situation with Povetkin, where the fight was meant to go to Russia and whatnot, you guys know the story, but then multiple Deontay Wilder opponents, one after the other, started failing drug tests, and it started to get really, really suspicious. And people, you could call us conspiracy theorists all you want, but those conspiracy theories started to seem a little bit genuine, didn't they? And then when the Dillian White mandatory situation was going on, Dillian White was up there in the WBC rankings, was supposed to be mandatory, and the WBC and Wilder did everything they could to keep Dillian White away from the title. And then he goes on to fail a drug test, but he didn't really fail a drug test. There was some sort of corruption or some sort of weird stuff going on where he passed one drug test with one agency, but he failed another drug test with another agency, and all of these drug tests, every single one of them was controversial or anecdotal in some way. So I felt that with Deontay Wilder, his legacy is very much tarnished by that. I think his legacy is tarnished by the fact that he scraped the bottom of the barrel in terms of opponents. I mean, he needed to fight as many voluntaries as possible. And when he did get mandatories, they weren't enforced properly. Like, he ended up with Dominic Breazeale as a mandatory. How did that happen? He ended up with Bermane Stiverne as a mandatory. How did that happen? Like, how was he getting mandatories against guys like Stiverne and Dominic Breazeale, just absolute cans, and to fighting an old man in Luis Ortiz and aging him out the way they did, with the fake drug test, and fighting him twice. I mean, there was so much nonsense with Deontay Wilder, so much nonsense going on behind the scenes, and it was frustrating to the point where when Tyson Fury finally got his hands on Deontay Wilder, and I wasn't emotionally invested in it. I was unsure how to think, or even though I was part of me, really wanted to root for Fury. Part of me was like, look, is he gonna take the title and retire and mess up the division again and whatnot? And again, it's like maybe Wilder, even if if he wins the fight, at least there's the chance of that Anthony Joshua fight that we all want to see. But Wilder was never interested in that fight because every time he was made offers, he just made some bullshit excuse. His cult of delusional fanboys in the LGBT, the LDBC, would make up excuses and narratives for why Wilder would turn down like 120 million or so offer from DAZN, and all these offers to fight Joshua in the UK, all these multi-fight deals, with Anthony Joshua for undisputed. It was always Deontay Wilder who was the first to take to Twitter and play the big man and pretend to be the victim. I'm oppressed, I'm a black man and I'm oppressed. And you can barely understand what he's saying half the time, but you just know it's some illiterate ghetto shit, like just some thug shit, and you just do you see what I'm saying? I know I'm rambling a bit in this video, but you can understand me, can't you? How frustrating it was. It was so frustrating to have Deontay Wilder as champion, and when you see all the corruption and the things that were bent around this guy, it really tarnished his legacy, and to the point where when he did lose that title, and how hyped the fight was with Tyson Fury and how his fan base got so emotionally invested in him. To see Tyson Fury not only beat him, but rip that title away from him. Tyson Fury didn't do what he did to Klitschko. When Tyson Fury beat Klitschko, he beat Klitschko by being tactful, by just nicking the rounds on the outside, being very elusive and defensive and moving around and feinting and showboating and not really engaging much in the fight. But when he beat Wilder, different story. He went right at Wilder. He fought like he was a challenger, wanting to rip that title away from the champion, and that's what he did. And it was just such a one-sided, savage beating. And when you see how the referee, and then again, watching the fight again in retrospect, the referee, Kenny Bayless, don't hurt Floyd Bayless, really, really, or Crazy Eyes, as some people call him, Kenny Bayless. Kenny Bayless protected Deontay Wilder in there. He tried to anyway. I'm not saying that Fury wasn't breaking the rules, like hitting behind the head and stuff, but Wilder was hitting behind the head too, and I don't remember Wilder getting warned. I remember Fury getting warned a bunch of times. So it is what it is. I think, Black History Month, they got a black American referee, Floyd Mayweather's bodyguard, his personal bodyguard referee, who he replaced Joe Cortez with Kenny Bayless as his bodyguard. And Deontay Wilder, that was why they hired him. It seemed as if he was there to try and just give Deontay Wilder that extra 10-15%, to try and assist him in winning the fight. And it failed so spectacularly. And with the way that Deontay Wilder, built the fight up, even on the ring walk, I mean, he was dressed like flipping Sauron from Lord of the Rings. He was dressed like. Do you know when I see that? Like I said this in the comment section of Precise's video. There was so many things coming to my mind in regards to Deontay Wilder's attire on the way to the ring. Like, Precise was insinuating that he was dressed up like some kind of demon. And it was like that, wasn't it? Like some sort of like real dark entity with horns and shit. And it was like repping Black History Month with the I'm black, y'all. I'm black, black, blackity black, y'all. Rap song, some ghetto crap in the background. And he was just walking to the ring dressed like Sauron. Or dressed like a Dramora from the Elder Scrolls. You guys familiar with the Elder Scrolls games? You have like the Daedric armor. That's what it looked like. It was a mix between that and Sauron from Lord of the Rings, man. It was creepy and it was weird. And I don't know what Deontay Wilder was playing that. I don't know what he was dressed like that for, but it was some real cult shit. It really was creepy. And then to see Tyson Fury, this big white guy, after all that talk, after all the Black History Month stuff, just beat him into the ground like he was nothing. Just beat the crap out of him. Chase him around the ring. Smack him about like he was nothing. This guy who's supposed to be the biggest puncher in heavyweight history, Fury was laughing off Wilder's punches in that fight, which was obviously different to what happened in the first fight. Just goes to show you how out of shape and unprepared Tyson Fury was for the first fight, man. It's crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? But Yeah, man, I'd say that the way that that fight ended with Deontay Wilder just getting the piss beaten out of him, just getting the absolute shit beaten out of him, and being forced to capitulate, his corner being forced to quit and throw in the towel, it just wasn't a good look for him at the end of his career. Let's say he retires now. That's all anyone's going to remember him for. They're not going to remember him for the 5 years as WBC champion. They're going to remember him for getting smacked about in that ring by Tyson Fury. And the point of me making this video, I mentioned at the beginning, it's about, can Deontay Wilder redeem his legacy? What could he do to redeem his legacy? Because what would be the quickest route to redeeming his legacy? Obviously, would be to take the rematch, the third fight. Guys, I'm just going to put this out there. I don't expect him to take the rematch, and I don't blame him for not taking it, because he would get starched probably in the first few rounds if he takes the rematch, especially with how shocking it was to the system for Deontay Wilder and his fans. If he fights Tyson Fury again, the very second he takes a jab or a right hand, he's going to start having flashbacks. Wilder doesn't come across to me as the most intelligent or mentally strong individual. I've always seen Wilder, even though he has heart, he has courage, I've always seen Wilder as a bit of an emotionally erratic individual. He's a guy who, when things are not going his way in the ring, he just swings. Like, he just gets emotionally retarded in that ring, emotionally unstable, and starts swinging to the point where he throws himself off balance, throws himself to the canvas. I mean, look at the Spilker fight. Could you imagine if Artur Spilker had the kind of size and power that Tyson Fury had? He would have knocked Deontay Wilder out. Could you imagine if Luis Ortiz was, in his 20s and in his prime, a young guy, because he was 40 years old, but if he'd have been young, I mean, he might have even been older than 40, but officially he's 40, according to the official story, he's 40 years old, but if he'd have been a young guy in his 20s, at his prime, more athletic, more quick, had more stamina, was slightly lighter on his feet, he probably would have knocked Wilder out, because he gave Wilder a pasting in the first fight and a schooling in the second fight. It's just that Wilder's power eventually catches up with him. Wilder ends up breaking him down. And look, my point is, that only lasts so long. Deontay Wilder's, 34, pushing 35? How much longer is he going to be able to get away with getting schooled off guys and then eventually landing a right hand and maybe knocking them out? That's not going to last very long. And again, would you put money on Wilder beating Fury in a rematch, in a third fight? Would you expect Wilder to go into that third fight in the UK? Because let's be honest, it'll probably be in the UK, and knock Tyson Fury out, really? Guys, I think that's a bit of a stretch, if I'm being honest. He has a puncher's chance, but that's it. Aside from fighting Tyson Fury in a rematch, a third fight, he could maybe get back in line and fight some contenders. I don't know, maybe have a homecoming fight, but that's not going to redeem his legacy. That's not going to bring back that image of that bronze bomber, the biggest puncher in heavyweight history that they're trying to market him as. I honestly think that the best move for Deontay Wilder will be to either retire and just take his money and just look after his family and enjoy his retirement and whatnot, or have a homecoming fight. Go back to Alabama or wherever he's from. Get himself a nice local venue there where he used to fight, and just fight some domestic rival. Maybe fight Charles Martin. Why not? That's a great fight. Charles Martin, he was on the undercard and he won, didn't he? Against, I didn't watch the fight, but I think Charles Martin won, didn't he? Didn't he win against Gerald Washington, or have I got that the other way around? I think I heard. I'm pretty sure I watched Del Boy's video, and I think I heard that Charles Martin won that fight by stoppage. Why not stick Charles Martin in the ring with Wilder and on in a farewell fight in his hometown for his fans, and that might actually give a bit of closure to his legacy, because he can say, look, I had my time as champion, I got found out, but I had a homecoming and a nice retirement. Or he can do, and I'm sure this is the elephant in the room, you guys are waiting for me to talk about it, he can pursue the Anthony Joshua fight, and he can now get in his place and realistically take his 20% or whatever mandatories get paid, or whatever, or voluntaries, I don't know, get paid to fight Joshua for his titles, because I'm sure Joshua would take that fight, okay? Obviously, when Wilder was the champion, the WBC champion, and when he was undefeated, he was trying so hard to play his position and just drag that situation out as long as possible in hopes of obtaining a crazy amount of money for Anthony Joshua to fight him. But I think now a good way for him to redeem his legacy, because Joshua is beatable. Okay, we've seen that he was quite chinny in the first fight against Ruiz, so Wilder would have a puncher's chance. I'm not saying he'd beat Joshua. I think Joshua would probably outbox him and knock him out, but Wilder has a puncher's chance, and even though Joshua could knock him out, it's not a foregone conclusion. So maybe that'd be a way he could redeem his career. Fight Anthony Joshua and see what happens. But again, he would have to get in line and he would have to accept significantly less money than he would have got offered as a champion, because he doesn't bring anything to the table. He's not undefeated and he doesn't have a world title. So Anthony Joshua is a power player, and Anthony Joshua would be able to dictate the terms of that fight now. And would Deontay Wilder, with the reputation that he's built up among his fan base, would he and his fan base accept him taking less money and not being in charge of that situation? I'm not quite sure, guys. I'm really not. So I really don't know what Deontay Wilder can do to redeem his legacy, if I'm being honest. I think that his legacy is pretty much destroyed, but his career isn't destroyed. Like I said, he's made plenty of money. He can have a homecoming fight with Charles Martin in Alabama. I think that's a great idea, for Wilder and his people. Just cash him out with a homecoming fight, because the Tyson Fury rematch is just a final nail in the coffin for his career. A Tyson Fury rematch is a fight he gets knocked out in again. So yeah, what else do I really say? I mean, you got obviously other contenders like Usyk, who's a lot smaller than a lot of guys Wilder's been fighting, so maybe he'd have a puncher's chance. But I've said before in videos, I think Usyk beats Wilder. I think Usyk could destroy Wilder. I think he could stop him. I think even a fighter like Marco Huck could beat Wilder based on styles. I'm not even kidding. I think he could get inside and beat the crap out of him. But smaller fighters, smaller heavyweights actually do have a good chance on the inside. Like, say if Gassiev were to fight Wilder, that's a good fight. If Briedis were to move up and fight Wilder, that's a good fight, because what you'll notice about Tyson Fury is he had his most success when he was on the inside, shortening his punches. And those guys have shorter arms, so they'll be finding it easier to shorten their punches inside against Deontay Wilder. And I think that another thing I forgot to mention, I meant to mention this earlier, the fear factor's gone now from Deontay Wilder. Kind of like when Mike Tyson got knocked out for the first time against Buster Douglas. And from then on in his career, nobody was intimidated by him anymore. Guys like Holyfield obviously just took the fight to him and weren't intimidated by the power, because in the early stages of his career, his reputation used to be in the minds of these opponents and used to cause them to sort of give up mentally before the fight would even start. But Deontay Wilder had that same reputation as, guys are always wary, and I think that's why they end up walking onto his punches. It's nerves, pretty much. And I think that a lot of his opponents now are going to know if they can just get inside on him and just rough him up inside, he's got nothing. And he won't be able to generate that power from distance. And he won't be able to knock them out, because Deontay Wilder's useless on the inside. So I think that even some of these smaller heavyweights, like a Gassiev or an Usyk, would be a major problem for Deontay Wilder. So I don't see Deontay Wilder winning a world title again, and I don't see Deontay Wilder redeeming his legacy. I definitely don't, and I think that it would be wise for him to either retire or just take a homecoming fight and just have one final fight for his fans and whatnot. But look, I'm not going to disrespect Deontay Wilder. His fans will abandon him, because that's just what these people do. These cult-like individuals, these people do. They're glory supporters. They're fair weather fans. They're bandwagon fans. They're fake fans. They jump on bandwagons, and the Deontay Wilder bandwagon, the Deontay Wilder hype train, the hype train is well and truly done. So yeah, that's an interesting take on it as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say. Let me know what you guys think about this situation, and do you guys think that Deontay Wilder would beat Anthony Joshua? And is there anybody out there, do you guys think he might beat Tyson Fury in a rematch? Personally, I don't think so. I only give him a puncher's chance in both of those fights. I give him a slightly better chance against Joshua. But even there, I think Joshua would knock him out, and I think Fury would knock him out too. So, puncher's chance, but no chance of winning on points or outboxing them. I don't see that happening. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. It's my take on this. Let me know what you guys think anyway, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more video. Again, I've got so many videos to to talk about. I've got so much stuff on my mind that boxing and non-boxing related that I want to talk about. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. God bless.